Hello everyone, thank you so much for joining us today. We're going to be spending about an hour or so of time with the creator of the messenger cards, Sandra Kunz. And we're going to really get to explore a variety of topics together, and metaphysical topics, and also questions that I've had for Sandra, but also questions that many of you have had as well. So we're really going to get to dive into how the messenger cards came to be created, the intention behind the work, and also how Sandra has opened up in her own path to authenticity and to opening up to shifts and growth. So what I would like to do before we start is just share the introduction in the messenger cards with you so that you can have an understanding of Sandra's intention of creating the messenger cards, the intention that was behind the work, and also the connection with the vibrational energies that have shown up in the deck itself. Sandra says here, I invite you to allow these cards to be a gateway to your spirit guides. It is my belief that animal spirits are in fact not really animals, but multidimensional beings that appear to us in a form that we can easily relate to. No matter where you are on your journey, they will meet you there with love, compassion, wisdom, and grace. And it is with joy and pleasure that they guide you to your higher self and assist you in living your life as a fully empowered and authentic being. We are each a unique soul, and we are here to express ourselves through our divine light. The more we honor our individuality, the more our light shines, and the more we connect to the whole with a true sense of belonging. Having clear guidance is essential for us to navigate on our path of truth, and I am honored to bring these cards and messages as a source of connection to your guides. So this is a powerful message from a powerful healer and a powerful creatrix of the incredible messenger cards. So grab a cup of coffee or a cup of tea and a snack and sit down and enjoy spending an hour with us as we discuss authenticity, intention, and creation together.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Sandra. We are so excited to talk to you about this deck that's impacted so many of us so very powerfully. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Racine. I really appreciate being here. This is wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you so much for making the time for us. We deeply appreciate it. So the first question I wanted to ask you is, how did you receive the messenger cards? How did they come to you? What was the experience of that?
Well, they didn't come quickly. I started painting the animal spirits in the deck in 2005.
Okay.
And I had no idea or intention of creating a deck at that point. I just started painting these animals. And in fact, the first card in the deck, number 1, the white butterfly, was my very first animal spirit painting that I did. So I made it the first painting in the deck. And over the next 8 years, I did many animal spirit paintings. And then it was in the summer of, it was July actually, 2011. It was like a light went on this light went on and it said, "You're creating an oracle deck, by the way." And yeah, it's like, this is what we're doing, and we're going to tell you that now. And so I just started writing the messages for them at that point. And I was a little confused at first. Well, I'm missing lots of animals. If you're looking at traditional animal spirit decks, there's every card is a different animal, and I'm like, well, I'm missing a whole bunch of animals. And there's like, nope, it's perfect. Each card will just have its own message. So they're very different from animal spirit cards in that way, in that they don't necessarily have the medicine of the animal spirits. They're actually healing messages for us.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like, the way that I experience it is that it's their voice speaking to us instead of like an informational message from the guidebook. It's their voice that's speaking to us.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so have you been an artist all of your life, Sandra? Have you felt that? Have you been working with that on your journey your whole life?
No,
Okay.
I actually wanted to be a musician when I was younger. And I mean, this goes into the whole discussion about being authentic,
Right.
where I had to learn that the hard way. I had to learn to be authentic the hard way, as many people do. So I understand that journey very, very deeply. And unfortunately growing up, or fortunately growing up, my family, they're very traditional and always, would say to me, well, you can't be a musician. What do you know? That can't be your career, So I kind of gave up on that. But it's okay, it's all for a reason, right? And I was an interior designer, commercial interior designer for a long time, and had my own company. And then I had to stop because I just needed to start painting. I actually learned how to paint in interior design school because a lot of it was about graphic presentation. So I started painting there, but then all of a sudden one day, honestly, I just started painting animal spirits.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah. I didn't go to art school. None of that, right? Yeah.
So did you find, Sandra, that because you do offer readings, like you use this work, I would call it healing work, Sandra. I don't know.
Yeah, it's healing work. They're not really readings, they're healing.
Yeah. So did that come as you were creating this oracle deck, or had you been doing that before and it just like you felt it all flowing? How was that experience?
Yeah, no, I was not doing that before.
Wow.
Not at all. No. No. The whole really, the whole concept was a bit foreign. Not foreign to me. Within me, it was there. But I mean, as I started realizing this is the path I was going down, I was like, really? Wow. And it took me quite a while to really accept that this is who I am, and this is my authentic self, and these are the gifts that I can really offer. And as I started doing it, I was really helping people, and I could really see that.
Yeah.
So no, I wasn't doing readings.
Wow.
I know.
So so I'm not going to go too much into authenticity because I know I'm going to ask you that in a little bit. But that is amazing that it all opened up just from you starting to create these images, and then all of this has come from that, from that connection. Wow, that's amazing, Sandra. Anything else that you want to share about receiving the cards, or do you feel like we've covered that area?
I'd like to say that I did have a great deal of trust in the process, and I didn't really understand how it was going to happen, but I could see already that because it had already taken such a long time, that it could still take time. And I didn't need to, first of all, I didn't need to force it, but I could really trust that there was a bigger picture already happening. And then I just allowed it to happen.
Wow.
And it's still happening. I mean, this is new, right? This is happening, and it's still growing, and there's still a much bigger picture, and I just trust that. So it's a wonderful message in just trusting your journey and trusting your path. Right?
Yeah. And listening to you too, I'm thinking, that you didn't have to have it all mapped out for it to grow. In fact, it grew just from your openness, it was able to grow. Right, Sandra? Yeah.
Yes.
So awesome. Okay. So the next question that I had for you is, did you find well, we kind of talked about this a little bit. So the question was, did they come through all at once, the energies and the cards, or did it take time? So you're saying it took that amount of time for it, right, Sandra?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, if you count the 8 years of painting, and then there was one year of writing the messages and compiling the whole book. I did all of the graphics work as well, and I did 100% of it. So yeah, so it was about 9 years to put it together. So no, it didn't all happen at once.
Right. So it did require that even though open, it did require patience as well.
Yeah.
You had to go through the whole experience.
Yeah.
And I would love to add too, as someone working with a deck, that I love that you have done all of it yourself, because I feel like none of the messages got edited out by someone else looking at the, you know, the guidebook meanings and trying to like trim it up for you or anything like that. I love that it's just purely the message. So as a reader, I just wanted to just say that too. Like, I love that. I love that it's absolutely what's come through and not anything that someone professional has edited down for you.
No.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Thank you.
Okay, so since we've kind of talked about that question in, you know, as at the beginning, I wanted to ask you about authenticity, because I found that for the people that end up coming to the channel, many of us are searching to find our true selves and looking to be able to honor that on our path. And for each of us, that looks unique. You know, it's not the same vision, but we're all trying to find that authenticity within ourselves and to honor it, that being very important. So the next question I wanted to ask you was, have you found that authenticity has been an essential or an important part of your path?
It has almost been my whole path. If I had to describe my path, it would be about my journey to authenticity and just allowing myself to be authentic.
Mm-hmm.
And I could always feel that was my path, and wow, did I give myself a hard time about it throughout my life, and have given myself created so many challenges for myself because of it. But that was my journey, and now I truly understand the journey of authenticity. And for some people, that is not their difficulty. They can just do it, and they can just be themselves. And I can look at those people and really appreciate them. It's like, wow, wow. But no, it's been the path for me, really. So I have found the biggest piece of the puzzle for me in being authentic is realizing that my path doesn't look like anybody else's path. And every step that I take isn't going to look like anybody else's step. So when I'm being guided to do something, or I'm helping somebody else in a healing session, the messages I'm getting it's really for that person or for me right now in this moment. And I don't have a bigger picture, and I have to always remember that and completely surrender to the guidance that I'm being given right at that moment, and that is being authentic. And so never comparing myself or even that next step to what somebody else would do.
Wow, that's really powerful, especially that next step part, Sandra. Yeah, because what I found is as you open up to that authenticity, then you do find that the path, the safety net, it shifts and it's gone. And it is all about that being open to each moment, but also not comparing, because it can't look the same for you the way it looks for someone else. Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. It can't.
So did you have like a big, well, I'll use that thing everyone says, even though I don't like this term, aha moment with your authenticity? Like, I need to, like a big awareness that you needed to shift into that? Or did you find that it was more gradual for you on your journey?
Mine has been a gradual journey. There are definitely larger moments,
Right. Yeah.
larger shifts where I realize like a mask comes off, or I can see the mask very clearly that I've been wearing. That it's like, oh, that's the way I've been behaving up until now because of this belief, which is not really me. And then, you know, at that point I can start letting it go, right? But no, it has for the most part been a gradual journey. Yeah.
Which is wonderful for all of us to know as well, you know, following our own authenticity, that The gradual aspect is part of it. Doesn't need to just be like bang, that's one big moment, and then you never have to go back to it again. Yeah.
And you know what? It wouldn't. I think it wouldn't work anyway. For most people to go, to have that huge a shift, would it be too much, quite honestly? Because when those, sometimes I have had shifts that are so big, they're pretty huge to deal with, the actual reality of it, and the way that your reality shifts along with when your consciousness shifts. I'm not sure really if we would want that on such a huge scale.
Yeah. So anything else that you want to share with us about authenticity, or does that question, does that feel good for you, Sandra?
No.
Okay. Okay, so the next question I had for you was, how have you grown and honored your own intuition in general on your path, but also through the creation of this deck? How did you start to really open up to that? Because that's another reason why people end up finding the channel. So I wanted to make sure we talked about that intuitive side.
It has a lot to do with being authentic, though, right? I'm intuitive. My intuition is also very authentic. And when I allow my intuition to be authentic, then it helps myself and it helps other people more. So if I'm not trying to compare myself to other mediums or other intuitives or other healers, and I don't try to put myself in a box of, well, I'm this kind of healer or I'm that kind of healer, then I find my intuition is much stronger. And it just is what it is. And I can help move people forward in whatever way comes through. But when I realized that, and I realized I had to stop comparing myself to other people, then my intuition got much stronger and I was able to help people much more.
Yeah. That's a huge, I think, especially for those of us who identify as healers or who can see that that's part of our path. That comparison aspect is huge, and it can really, really stop you. Especially if you're coming into contact with people who are saying, well, why doesn't what you're doing look like this? Or I'm uncomfortable because it's not like this. It can become really easy to do that comparison thing. Yeah.
And they're like, well, what do you do? Right. Well.
Yeah. And I often want to say, not that. Whatever this is that you're looking for is not what I'm doing, what we're doing here. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Okay, so let me look at this. And so you're saying that you found too, just for you as a person, walking your own path, that this authenticity is really what helped you to open up to the intuition too, Sandra? Yes.
Absolutely. They're actually completely intrinsic. They're one thing.
Good.
Really. Yeah.
So the next question that I had for you, was it difficult to step onto your own unique creative and spiritual path? And if if the answer is yes to that, are there any words of wisdom to share with us who are finding that there's difficulty in stepping onto that path?
I have had many difficulties on this path that are completely self-created, right? Because of my own doubts in that path of myself. And so understand that if you do come up against challenges and difficulties, you are creating them only to show yourself who you are, only to work through those layers of beliefs so you can understand who you are truly at the core. But no, I have to say, no, it's so funny. You can probably sit here and look at me in this interview and think that maybe I have it all together. I have all the answers, and oh, she's there. And it's like, wow. that hasn't been the case, and I've only come here because of those difficulties, and really being able to look at them in the face, and
Right.
and look at my shadows, and right square in the face and say, who are you? Like, what are you trying to say to me? What do you believe? What do I believe that is creating this discord in my life that is not in alignment with who I really am and my purpose here? Right?
Yeah. That's beautiful, Sandra. Thank you. So what can you share with us about trusting your creative and intuitive gifts and honor your intuition? So I know we've kind of been talking about this, but any further words of wisdom for us about, especially because, you know, at the beginning you were saying that it has been a journey to this deck actually becoming the full deck that we're seeing and working with now. So, you know, because for many of us, whether we're working as healers or maybe we're actually working on creating our own deck, and that's why we've ended up finding this video online or whatever it is with along those lines, Sandra. Is there anything you can share with us about what that experience was of trusting that process? Because it was a journey. It wasn't like an overnight boom, here's all the cards, here's all the messages, here's what you're going to draw kind of thing.
Trust that you are creating this oracle deck, or whatever your
right. book or
whatever it is you're creating. Trust that it is coming from your essence, and the more that you can allow it to come from your essence, the more it will serve, and the more it will find its place and its connection to the people that it needs to be received by.
Wow.
Yeah. So don't try to make it look like anything else.
Mm-hmm.
Just allow it to truly come from your essence, which reminds me a lot of the messenger card itself in my deck, right? So whatever voice you have, allow it to come through.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I mean, it doesn't need to, that is beautiful. We don't even need to say, anything. I think that's key. And it's interesting because that's kind of been, I've been hearing those messages in different ways over the last few days, which is fascinating that you're saying it again, Sandra. And sometimes it's as simple as that. That's what it's about. It's not trying to make it, whatever we're trying to create or whatever we're doing, not trying to make it look like what we think it should look like, but just letting it be from source, from our true self.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's amazing. Thank you. So the next question I have for you is, and this will be interesting to see what your answer is, Sandra. How do you connect with spirit animals and totem animals? And do you have any recommendations for us on including them in our practice and path? And I did have one viewer question that kind of went along with this for you to kind of, you can add in if you would like to. Do you come from a shamanic perspective with the spirit animal voices? That was someone's question for you.
Yes.
Okay.
That's where my journey began, actually. I did start working with animal medicine cards when I was a teenager, and that was really my only connection to oracle decks at all. But I had a really deep connection with this one particular deck, the medicine cards, when I was a teenager, and that really started me on this journey. And it was through a guided journey that I found Raven, and I found Fox, and then I started, Fox came later, but I found Raven was a very strong animal spirit for me, and I started painting it, and it really did start my whole journey. And for me, Raven, just as an example of how I've connected to my animal spirit, Raven is constantly reminding me of the magic that I have within me to create my reality. And I do get signs from Raven in all kinds of ways, almost every day, reminding me of that, saying, hey, Sandra, remember, this is a very strong aspect of you. You are a very magical being. And and it just reminds me of that. So yeah, I do. If you're called to find your power animal, then, or your animal spirit, your specific animal spirits, and I do recommend it. It's a very powerful path.
Yep. Yeah, and I agree with you completely on that, Sandra. So this does make me think of one other thing that I want to ask you, if you're open to answering it. Because some people will often ask me, if I draw a card and that's the animal, does that mean that if I always see another type of animal, like let's say you draw a wolf, but you're always talking to fox, you find fox is always giving you messages, does that mean that wolf is my animal instead of fox? Is there any insight you would share with us about that?
Right. I would say if you're using an oracle deck, the oracle deck is there for you to receive guidance and messages. It's not necessarily going to be your animal spirit. These are messages that are coming for you. I always suggest to people, if they want to know what their animal, what their power animal is, or their animal totem, that they do a guided journey. That's usually, I find, the best way for them to find that animal. Yeah,
I agree with you completely. And I do think sometimes we do. The cards are meant to be a beautiful, in my experience, the cards are meant to be a beautiful, wonderful tool that assists us. But if we're also hearing other messages from other animals, it doesn't mean that we can't hear that, because the deck says it's wolf, or just as an example, it's wolf that's coming forward.
Right.
So it's refreshing to hear you say that to us too. That it is about tuning into that intuition. Yeah, and listening to that message. Yeah, absolutely. So the next question I have for you then is, and especially because you've said that you have had those times of darkness on your path, especially as you have been stepping into your authenticity. So in these various times of darkness that come up for all of us, what do you find brings you solace in those moments?
Well, first of all, I have to say that my times of darkness now look a lot different than they used to. And I'm so grateful. And because I can truly see now that when my challenges come up, it is something for me to look at that I can shift, that I actually have complete control in shifting what is happening through awareness through complete awareness. So it's an opportunity for me to look at what I'm creating in this particular moment. What is happening, and where did that come from? What are my beliefs? So now when I am experiencing those times of darkness, I no longer feel alone. I understand that there is a bigger picture. So I think when people are in times of darkness, I think the hardest part of that can be that, they feel very alone and separate, and they don't have, the connection isn't there to source anymore. They've forgotten it. So I know you wanted to ask me if there were a couple of cards specifically that can help connect to that. And I find, for me, two of the most helpful and comforting cards in those times would be the hummingbirds, the two hummingbirds. So it's number 16, a message of love, and also number 31, the white deer, gentle awakening. And first of all, number 16, the hummingbirds are really reminding you that you are not alone. And they're to help you. They actually also, all of the cards, as all the cards do, they do bring a frequency with them to help you shift your awareness. It's all about where we are, where our thoughts are, where our energy is, as to how connected we feel, right? So that card specifically is reminding you that spirit never left. Divine love never left. It's always there, and it's our choice. It's our choice to come or to go, and to remember that we are not alone. And not that that's easy.
Right.
Right, it's not. And the other card, number 31, the white deer. The white deer is really about having compassion for our shadows, right? And really being able to look at our shadows with such compassion and understanding that almost immediately when you can start to do that, you will start to shift. And remember, there is a bigger picture, and this really is happening for a reason. And again, you're not alone. But it is about a shift in consciousness that is reminding you that you are not alone, and this is about your shadow aspects. This is about parts of you that are coming up to show themselves to you, to be looked at.
Yeah.
So, did that answer the question?
It absolutely did. Yeah, and beautifully so, Sandra. Okay, so let's see. Next question. What other recommendations do you have for those of us as we're working with the cards? And what would you recommend for us to really feel that depth of connection with the deck as well? So that it's not just something that's pretty on our altar space, but we're actually able to really bring it in. And like you were just saying, have that experience of not being alone through those difficult times, but knowing that we're supported by Spirit.
What really comes to mind when using my Oracle deck, or really any Oracle deck, is when you're pulling cards, and let's say you're pulling cards and you look at it and you go, well, that makes no sense. What is it talking about? And if you've truly centered yourself and you've asked a question sincerely, the cards that are showing themselves are a match for what you need to know. And if you aren't quite understanding what they're saying in that moment, then it's my belief that they're asking you to look deeper. And there might be a very specific reason why you don't understand the answer, and that's because there's just maybe somewhere that you haven't been able to look yet within yourself. So I really invite you at that point to take some time and meditate on the cards, maybe do some journaling and go deeper and look at what the cards are actually trying to tell you, because it's probably it could be a very big shift for you, a big message for you.
Right. If we allow ourselves to take the time to sit with it instead of automatically reshuffling the deck and being like, nope, don't like that one. I would like that card today. Yeah.
And if we keep doing that, it just gets muddier and muddier and
yeah.
The answers, it's not going to get clear. It's just going to get,
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you, Sandra.
Yeah.
So this is kind of coming to me as we're talking. Because I found recently, as someone who does a lot of deck reviews on the channel, it's been very interesting to see lately as more readers are really starting to open up to reading intuitively. I've found over the last few months that some creators of the decks are really feeling like, well, really I created the guidebook, or the guidebook was created, channeled, however we want to say that, for you to use the guidebook with it, and to just use your intuition is not necessarily the intention behind the deck. As the creator of these cards, do you feel that using our intuition with the deck is encouraged, or should we really just stick with the guidebook?
Oh, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
You can burn the guidebook for all I care, honestly. The cards are there for you to use and for you to connect with. However you connect with them is between you and Spirit, or you and the universe, you and divine love. You don't have to use the messages at all. And trust your intuition when you're using the cards. However Spirit talks to you, it might give you other images. It might talk to you in different ways, trust that. That is what intuition is. And oracle cards are nothing if they are not about intuition and using our intuition and connecting with spirit. So please, yes. Please. And yeah, and spirit can be really clever and funny, and it knows you better than anyone. So if it is showing you a card and it reminds you of something, listen to that. Right? It's showing you something, and it is saying something. So absolutely, yes.
Okay.
Use your intuition.
I'm so relieved to hear that, because it's been fascinating to see this over the last few months. This kind of conversation going on about you know, like, you can use your intuition a little, but don't use it too much. It's like,
wow.
It's fascinating to see. So it's refreshing to know that, especially with this deck, that intention is for us to really develop almost like our own language with the cards, right?
Yes.
That we're able to really hear that message, those messages coming through.
Yes.
Yeah. Good. I'm so glad to hear that, Sandra. What would you like to share with us about these cards, or about the process? Anything that we haven't discussed yet that you feel drawn to share with us? And why don't you share with us the 3-card spread, if you still feel drawn to, Sandra?
Okay. All right. So I'm going to share with you the spread that I use for when I do readings for myself, or if I'm doing readings for another person. And it's a 3-card spread. And the 3-card spread was born from the cards themselves.
Mm-hmm.
They just started to happen, and for me it works. The 3-card spread works really well for clarity. But again, as with oracle cards, I believe they are all about intuition. So use your intuition when you're using your oracle cards. You don't have to use a 3-card spread, but I'm just sharing this with you just in case you would like to try it and see if it works for you. Okay. So with the 3-card spread, I choose the first card that I choose goes in the middle, and then the second and third card go on the left or right. It doesn't matter, but basically they go on either side of the first card that is chosen. And the first card, the middle card, is what is shifting. It is what spirit is drawing your attention to, that will most guide you and shift you through your learning process and whatever is happening for you. And the other 2 cards give you more information and support as to how that's going to happen, as to how that middle card is going to shift and happen. It's just more information and more specific frequencies to help move that shift along. And so a 3-card spread can, let's say one 3-card spread where the middle card is the same in both spreads, can be quite different if the other 2 cards on either side are different from spread to spread, right? So the focus will be slightly different as to where that shift is going to come from, and where you can focus your energy and your thoughts to help move through whatever it is that you're moving through. Does that make sense?
It does.
Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely. And it's great, especially if you're new to working with oracle decks as well, because it's not an overwhelming spread size either. Like you said, it's just those 3, so it's not getting too convoluted, too heavy, too confusing.
That's right. And I just, oh my gosh, I just had an aha moment about the purpose of this 3-card spread. And it's that these cards actually they're about healing. They are about bringing those frequencies to you. So it's not so much about reading, as in other cards and decks are about reading. It is actually about healing and moving you through. So that's maybe why this spread is a little different. Yeah.
And why it's so effective as well.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, So we're going to move on to viewer questions now, Sandra.
Okay.
So the first question I have for you is from Carol, and her question was, what medium did you use to paint the images with? What was the medium?
Acrylics and charcoal. So sometimes I combine the two of them, acrylics and charcoal. And some of them are actually just charcoal drawings on wood. So the series that I did that don't have a lot of color, those are mostly acrylic drawings on wood lacquered panels. Yeah, I did a whole show once, and it's all of the paintings that don't have the color. They all kind of look the same.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the white buffalo, and there was the white raven, and then your joy, the joy of right now. That's what it is. The hummingbird and the turtle, and there's a dragonfly as well. They all have the same look. Yeah. So that was all. Yeah.
And do you find that even though they're each unique vibrational energies, did the fact that they all came through in that very similar color palette, did they kind of share like an arc or a storyline almost, Sandra? Do you find now, like looking back at it as a whole, that maybe there's like a connection with their theme?
Yes.
At all? Yes. Because I was going to say, as a reader, I find that when those cards pop up, it makes me stop in a different way than the others. You know, like I kind of narrowing down and pay attention, I guess, in a slightly different way than with the other images. Yeah.
I realized after the fact that I mean, I knew at the time, they all had a similar sun image that's done in gold leaf. Actually, I forgot to leave that medium out, but those are gold leaf, and they are very much like portals, and it's really interesting because they all have it, and those animals having non-color, there is a very different frequency about them, and very similar to, or comparable maybe on one level, to the albino animals of the First Nations prophecies, where they're saying, the prophecies say that when there are more albino animals being born on the earth, that there is a huge shift in consciousness, which is supposedly what's happening. And that's actually where that whole series was born from. Wow. But there is a different frequency about those paintings for sure, and then the whole portal aspect of it adds another dimension to them. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing, Sandra. Okay, so the next question, I think you kind of answered this, but I'm still just going to ask, and you can reiterate whatever you'd like to. This is from Bree. She says, how did you come to the place where you created the deck? Did you find, was it the spirit animals, then the oracle aspect, then the deck, or was it the opposite? And I know at the beginning you did kind of say that it started with the images, right, Sandra? But I'll let you go ahead.
Yep, it absolutely started with the images. I had no inkling that I was creating an oracle deck whatsoever back in 2005 when I started painting them. It was crazy. I just had to start painting them, and I painted them, and I repainted them, and I had no idea why. So no, it definitely proceeded that way, but that doesn't mean to say that that's the only way that an oracle deck could be created, right?
Right.
That was the only way spirit could do it, through me.
Right.
Right. Because I probably would have thought that it was crazy.
Right.
It had it said, oh no, you're creating an oracle deck. Yeah, okay, whatever.
Or I know, like for me, I would have felt so overwhelmed with like, oh my gosh, I need to do this just so, and yet in this way we're able to really just channel it and let it flow.
Absolutely. If I didn't have the paintings already, when I realized I was creating a deck, I don't think I could have, I would have been overwhelmed. with the thought of having to paint 40 or 50 paintings for this deck, and it probably wouldn't have happened. So
yeah. So it transpired perfectly, so that so that you were able to create them without that feeling of pressure, so it could be authentic.
That's right.
That's amazing. Okay, so then from Angela we have this is an interesting question. How did you know you were ready to share your visions, that is your artwork, with the world? So we really haven't touched on this as far as like the publishing aspect. How did you know that you were ready for that?
That's a really good question.
Mm-hmm.
And part of my journey definitely has been about not hiding anymore, realizing that I was hiding. And I had a vision, I can see it right now. I had a vision of myself as a young girl, often hiding away and not wanting to share my light, not wanting to show my light. And that was at that point when I was ready to start publishing them, I was becoming quite aware of that belief I had that I needed to hide and not show my light, because my light wasn't okay. For some reason, it just wasn't okay, and I didn't know why, but at that point I had started to really be aware that I had that belief, and was consciously able to start working through it, and realize that I just needed to do it anyway, and to show it to people, even if only 2 people saw it. It didn't really matter. I needed to do it. I just needed to do it for myself and put it out there. And I had no idea what the results would be either. I had no idea, and no inkling that this right now would be happening.
Right.
It was just something that I needed to do as part of my journey. So,
wow.
Yeah.
And did you find that, I don't know how I want to ask this, Sandra, but did you find that you had to be very grounded as far as like the brass tacks aspect of getting things published or created? Like, did you find you had to kind of really be very present physically for that part of it, Sandra?
Absolutely. I think when I started publishing them and doing the work to get them published, a lot of the masculine started to really grow and get and balance within me. I think up until that time there wasn't quite a bit of an imbalance of the masculine and feminine in me, and I had to really conjure up the masculine to do the physical work and to put it forth, because it was a huge effort. It was a lot of work, even once the paintings were finished, to get the deck actually at a point where I could send it off to the printer, right? So many hours, tedious hours of editing and of editing images and getting the book ready, right? So yeah, being grounded, and that a lot of that was the masculine energy for me, and really putting my foot forward and getting it done. Absolutely. Yeah.
And that's wonderful. It's wonderful for those of us to hear, who are trying to, whatever it is we're trying to create, just to understand that that's a part of the process too. And that when you're coming up against that, it doesn't mean that it's a sign to stop doing whatever it is that you're feeling called to do, right? Like for you, it was about embracing and balancing that masculine so that you could be, you could fully do that work. It didn't stop you from creating it.
No. And even though it was hard work, it was good work. I didn't mind. It had so much purpose for me. And I didn't mention part of the process when I realized I was going to start writing messages and I was going to start showing myself, was that I started writing a blog. So I created a blog site, and every week I posted a new painting that would be a deck card, and I wrote a message. So it kept me really on task every week. And one a week was enough. I couldn't really do it much faster than that. And yeah, but that really kept me on task. So that was a good process for me.
That was helpful for you.
It was very helpful for me. Yeah.
And so then from Nina, she's asking, how do you use the cards yourself? So I know we did talk about the spread, but you know, in what ways do you use the deck yourself?
I use them when I want clarity. When I want clarity on, it tells me where my frequency is at, actually. So if I'm having a situation happening, and I pull some cards for myself, sometimes not the 3-card spread, but often I'll do a 3-card spread, and they show me where to redirect my focus and my thoughts and my energy, but it also tells me where I haven't been focusing my thoughts and my energy as well, right? So if I get the card, let's say again, for example, deep self-respect, it's like, okay, well, it's time to really listen. Really, really listen to what I need right now, and what is authentic, what would be authentic for me in this moment, because that's probably not what I've been doing in this situation. So that's how they help me, and that's how I use them. Yeah.
So, and I think, as you were saying earlier too, it's not like a typical divination deck. Not that it can't be used for that. I'm not canceling that out for anyone who's finding a lot of joy in doing that. But they really have very deep healing messages too. So connecting with them like that, I've certainly found that it's a very loving message. And I always feel very supported from them, but it's also, like you were saying, it gives you a great deal of clarity about what you're not looking at in any given situation. Yeah. So then from Elizabeth, we have the question, how has the creation of these cards affected your life and your spiritual practice?
Wow. It has deepened my life and my spiritual practice. It has made my life my spiritual practice.
Wow, that's amazing. Okay.
It is amazing. I am so blessed because my life gets to be my spiritual practice now. Yeah. And when it's not, then there's something wrong. And I'm off balance. Right? So, and it's allowing my spirituality to actually manifest in the physical world, and being myself and being a spiritual being in the physical world all the time, and balancing that out, being a spiritual and a physical being, and having those working congruently.
Yeah.
Right? And together and as one, and not separately, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Wow, Sandra, that's beautiful. Okay, so from Courtney, we have an interesting question, Sandra. Let me see, how did she ask this? So with the deck, because we do have certain animals that will appear more than once, her question was, you know, why was it these specific animals? And then especially for her, she was wondering why there were so many birds present, you know, as far as if you could just talk about that experience.
Yep. Well, I think a lot of the animals in the deck were painted because they were actually my spirit guides at the time. And like I said, when I was, you know, the idea started to come to me from spirit that I was creating an oracle deck, I was worried. It's like, well, yeah, I've got all these ravens, I've got all these butterflies, and I've got, you know, all these dragonflies, and I'm missing this animal, I'm missing this animal, I'm missing this animal. And then spirit just said, no, don't worry about that. It's about the messages. And the animals are connected to their shamanic animal medicines, but I think those animals have such a broader meaning to them as well.
Yes.
There's just room. There's just enough room for these. What am I saying? I don't know. I don't think the animals need to be put in a box necessarily. So yeah, I mean, that's why there are so many of the same animals for sure.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't creating a deck intentionally, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I think, like you were saying when you were talking about the three card spread, that you might get the same card, but whatever is showing up around it also is really even just shifting that message of that card into a different shade or a different lens, we could say. And I find for myself working with spirit animals that, like you were saying, we might see Raven one day and she might have one message for us. Another day she'll have a different message. So for me, it was very refreshing that it wasn't like, here's bear, here's what bear is, this is what it means, okay, next card. You know,
right.
It was really about the messages. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, I was overjoyed when I saw that. It wasn't just that one, this is all it can be kind of thing. Yeah, because I think for us, it encourages us to hear those messages, that it doesn't need to just fit into that box like you were talking about earlier with authenticity, but that it's something that grows and shifts with us. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So do you feel like that answers that question clear enough, Sandra? Can we go off? Was that good? Okay. Okay, so Augusta had kind of the similar question as far as with it being, you know, more that seeing creatures more than once. So I feel like we did answer that, Augusta.
Yeah.
But she was kind of asking, did you have any reservations about that? But you kind of said that because you weren't intentionally creating a specific deck, it was able to be what it was supposed to be. Right? Yeah. Okay, so then the last question, we've had a few viewers ask this, is when do you expect the decks to be back in stock? Can you give us any information on that? Because we know right now, as of the date of this recording, which is, let's see, what is it? It's May 7th, they're out of stock right now.
Okay, and my deepest apologies. My deepest apologies. Again, part of my journey, this has been an amazing experience with racing. Amazing. I mean, the sales of my decks just went through the roof, and I thought I was prepared. You know, I ordered tons of decks ahead of time, and it was all good, and they got there. You know, we had them in time, except what I manifested was about a third of them being deficient. So we didn't realize that in time, and they were mailed out to some people because, you know, the cards were buried, the deficient cards were buried, and then so we had to replace some of those. But what that left us with was, I had told you 60, but it was actually closer to 70 cards that were deficient and we couldn't mail out, which left us short for the order, and oh my, I can't even describe the stress. And I felt, and I felt terrible, and I still do. But my associate Anna and I have come up with a solution for those of you that would really like to still participate in the course at the end of the month, and that is that if you're interested, we're willing to sell the slightly deficient decks at a reduced cost, so that you will have a deck. And really, these deficiencies don't in any way take away from the energy of the cards. There's there might be a scratch on the finish of a couple of them. What happened on some of them was that there's a little bit of a white border on one edge of the card where the color is supposed to go all the way through. It's that sort of thing. And so it doesn't in any way take away from the energy of the card. And if you're expecting that, right, I think it's fine. If I was expecting that, I'd be like, oh yeah, that's fine. So I'm going to be posting it on my website and on Etsy later today. So they will be available. Now, the thing is I can pretty much guarantee they will reach recipients in Canada or the US by the 29th of May. Overseas, I can't guarantee they'll reach.
Right.
At this point, that they'll reach there by the end of May. But oh, and another thing too, we're sold out of our organza bags. So I'm sorry, you're not getting an organza bag either. Like, if I had to reorder those, and it would hold up the whole process. So, and just this is a limited time offer. I'm not keeping these decks for sale. Even if we don't sell them all, I don't want to keep them on my website for sale. This is only in the interest of filling orders for your cord racing. So yeah, there we go.
And I would love to add to this. First of all, I am so excited that this many people are feeling drawn to the deck too, because for me, it's just, I just want everyone to have an opportunity to connect with it, because it's such a special deck. And so many people said, even in like the first video where I was talking about the deck, I got so many messages that just looking at the cards in the video, people could feel the energy of the deck, and they were like, I just need to feel this connection. So I am like so excited that it's selling so well, Sandra. And
I know.
Yeah, it's amazing. And you know, for everybody that's feeling a little stressed, you know, am I going to get the deck in time? Remember that the workshops are recorded videos, and so you can start them whenever you would like. And for the meditation videos and those things, I will have the image up. So if you don't have the deck yet, you can still meditate with us. You can still connect with the card images. So I just want to say to everyone, just take a deep breath. It's going to be okay. These are wonderful growing pains that Sandra's having. It's nothing that we cannot all support each other. Yeah. So we're going to get there, and it's going to be amazing. And you know, if you're seeing this video years later, years down the road from this day where Sandra and I sat together, you know, you'll have the deck then too. So it's going to be okay. We're all going to be okay.
We're all going to be okay.
But thank you for letting us know, you know, about the journey, because it's a process for you too, just like
oh my God,
the deck.
Oh, and even experiencing success racing. Honestly, you wouldn't think. You'd think, oh yay, you know, success, and it's like, we have our stuff about success.
We do.
Oh my God, I could write a novel. I should write a novel about it, actually, because the fears
that come up,
that came up with actually being successful with my decks, it was unbelievable. And it was so much work, and it was a wonderful process for me to see what was coming up for me. And it's like, what? Are you kidding? Like, I'm afraid of that, or, you know. And the thing is I manifested my worst fear, and it was that I would disappoint people. Then it's like, if I'm more successful and more people are counting on me to buy my decks, then I'm just going to disappoint more people, right? I manifested that 100%, right? And it's like, well, there it is.
It's time to look at this.
Oh, yeah.
And that's also great for all of us to see too, that like you were saying, you know, people watching at the beginning, you said, you know, you might think like, oh, she's got it all together, but no matter where we are on the journey, we're always being given that gift to, like you were saying, like find and explore, experience our divinity within, and to take another layer off so that we can see it brighter, see it shine brighter.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're never like all going to be there on this journey. Well, we're just
no. I don't know if that's good or bad.
So let me ask you this, Sandra, before we close. Is there anything that you are working on now that you want to share with us, or how can we reach out and connect with you? So some of us are going to feel like watching this video, I need the deck, which we will have links for everything below, guys. So don't worry, you don't need to find that. I'm going to have links for everything that Sandra's offering below. Or they might feel like they'd like to have a session with you. So can you share a little bit about that, Sandra?
Absolutely. If you would like to have a session with me, please just email me at Sandra at youranimalspirits.com. We can set up a session. I love this Zoom thing. Actually, this is,
I know, it worked out.
like, this is easy. Yeah, we could do it this way on Zoom, or if you're close to where I live in Alton, Ontario, you're welcome to email me and set up a session. And like Racine said earlier, they're more like healing sessions than readings. I call them readings because I use cards, but I do a lot of shadow work with people. I help them connect with those aspects of themselves that have been disconnected. And I help to reintegrate, do some emotional integration, and help them reintegrate those parts of themselves and help them. I mean, I think one of my gifts with people is that I can see, it's really funny. I can see where their beliefs are, what their beliefs are, and what they're creating and how they're suffering. And sometimes just bringing awareness to that, and then also helping them to see a whole nother perspective of that and feel. I help them to feel a whole nother perspective and paradigm where they can start creating what they want. That's what my sessions are about mostly. So yes, I love helping people.
That's excellent.
Yeah.
So, and again, we'll have a link to Sandra's site below. So, like she said, you can email her as well and connect with her that way. Is there anything, like, do you feel another deck coming in, or is there a book or anything else like that that you feel that you can share with us, Sandra?
I know there is.
Yeah.
It's probably a book, and I'm not sure what that is yet, but there's definitely there's more to share.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wonderful.
Thank you. Yeah.
So anything else that you would like to share with us before we finish the interview, Sandra?
Yes, I am so excited, Racine, about this course that you're doing, and I couldn't have designed a better course for my own cards. Honestly, I'm so honored that you have connected to my deck this way, and that you want to offer this course to people, and that it has changed my life. Honestly, it has changed my business and my life. It has helped me grow, and I am so excited for people to take your course and to grow for themselves.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna do it too. So, oh yeah,
I'll be doing it together.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna be right there with you.
Yeah.
And I look forward to learning more about myself.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and thank you from the bottom of my heart for that. And I'm also deeply thankful that you've been open to us really being able to have your support on the journey too, because for me, in creating something like this, like it's about that intention too, you know, that we're all holding that intention for each other, which is that deeper level of healing, deeper awareness. So thank you for creating the deck and for being open to us being able to work with it this way too.
Oh, you're welcome. I wish I could hug you.
I know, ether hug. So anything else that we need to talk about, Sandra, or does that feel good?
That feels great. Wow.
Okay. So thank you all for joining us. Again, all the information is going to be in the box below for you guys. And sending you much love and many blessings. Take care.
Oh, much love. Bye.